Om Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we were at 47. Karmanyevadhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Phalaheturbhuhu Ma Te Sangostva Karmani Karmani Eva Adhikaraha Te Ma Phaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Phalahetuhu Puhu Ma Te Sangaha Astu Akarmani. So with this verse, Sri Krishna really explains what is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is discussed later on in the 3rd chapter in more detail, but here he introduces. So for which one has to understand how we in our tradition understand karma, the law of karma. So karma basically means action. And so action is something which I do. There's a physical action, and there is also action from the standpoint of the mind, mental action. So any activity involves an action. So in a physical action, I do something. And when I do something, there is a result. Every action brings about a result. And the nature of the result is connected to the nature of the action, obviously. If I do a particular action, if I plant a tree or a seed, if I plant a seed of a mango tree, then the mango tree is going to come out of that. Depends on the seed. Okay. So the result is inherent in the action, in what the action is. Potential. Do an action, it gives a result. So here, what Sri Krishna says is, Te karmani eva adhikaraha. Adhikaraha means qualification, or it's kind of an entitlement like. So you have it in you. We are endowed with this capacity to not only act, but to choose to act. To choose to act. There is a certain choice base for the human beings. So he says that you have a choice in the action that you perform. But then, ma phaleshu, you do not have a choice in the result that comes from the action. Up to the point where you perform an action, you have a choice. So, for example, suppose I tell you, so my teacher, Swamiji, always used to give this example. So, you please clap. Like this, please clap. That's a request, please clap. So, now, here, when I ask you to clap, and you clapped, so some of you did, some of you did not. Okay. Not that everybody clapped just because I requested it, even though I don't ask for much. So I ask for something, then I ask you to clap. Some of you did, some of you did not. So it is choice based. Correct. I choose to do it or I choose not to do it. But then once you do this, then it generates a noise. Okay. Once you clap like that, there was a noise. So this noise is something over which you have no control. You have control in the action. You can clap or you need not clap. But if you clap, then the result of that, which is the sound, is something over which there is no choice. Okay. So this is a very important thing to understand when it comes to action and its result, karma and phalam. That the phalam is always built into the action, and that thing is something which is inherent. That is something, it is according to the laws. Laws, all of which some of which we may understand, many of which we do not understand. So when we do actions, usually what is it that prompts us to do something? I do an action because I want a particular result. Naturally, without wanting a particular result, nobody does an action. In fact, there is no need to do an action. If I don't have an end in view, an end result of an action is the result. That is what is called as phalam. So if I don't have any phalam in my mind, in view, then why would I perform any action? I would not perform any action. So when I'm even talking, even when I talk, the minimum expectation that I have is that the person who I'm talking to is listening to me or is understanding what I'm saying, or at least is trying to. Otherwise, I won't even talk. So, thus, in performing an action, there is always some result that is there in my mind, which is what prompts me to do an action. So, karmani adhikaraha is there, and I then perform an action based on my free will. But having performed the action, he says, the result that comes to you, over that you have no say. Over that, really speaking, you have no say. But then what happens is generally our problems is that when we get a result, we always get a result. The other thing is the actions always give results. There is no action that is done which does not generate a result. In order to get the result, there is always a time factor involved. Sometimes the time factor is something which may be, so there may be a result may accrue immediately, or the result may come to me in a period of time. So that again I have no control over it. So the action is there, but the result is going to be there, either immediately or later on in time. The result always accrues to an action. But what the result is something over which I have no control. So karmani te adhikaraha, I have a choice over the action, not over the result. Ma karma phala hetu bhuvu. So do not, he says, ma is no, it's a negative. Do not become, so karma phala hetu. Hetu is a cause. So you do not act. See, what is the motivation? The motivation to act, if when I do an action, even though I have some result in mind, but let not my action be solely motivated by getting a particular result, because the result may be what I expect, it may not be what I expect. That is always there. But if I think that I am the author of a particular kind of a result, then that may or may not happen, because I do not know all the factors that are involved in getting the result. It's like planting a seed and then thinking that, so I'm going to get you plant a seed for an orange tree and then expect that I'm going to get a certain kind of sweet oranges, so many, etc. You can't do that way. So you don't know what is going to come. So you do not become somebody who's acting by thinking that I'm going to get a particular result of an action, because It may or may not be what you are expecting. Okay.
So where is the free will is really coming? Sometimes we see that we do not have choices, pretty much pre-designed. So you basically come to that situation.
No, there is a free will in terms of the action, in terms of the action that is performed. Okay. There is always a free will. The question is to what extent? Yeah, okay. So that's another, it's kind of a connected topic. So there's always a question of how much free will it is. How much is the free will? The point is, so first of all, is there a free will? And if there is a free will, how much free will there is? Now, we cannot say that the free will, suppose, you look at this mathematically. So would you say that as human beings, we have 0% free will? Yeah. We don't have 0% free will, like animals or other forms of life. So do we have 0% free will? No. We have some free will. Some free will. Do we have 100% free will? No. We definitely don't have 100% free will. If I had 100% free will, then I should be able to will myself not to have free will if I want it. But that is not there either. So I neither have 100% free will, nor I have 0% free will. That means I have some free will. So some free will. How much is the next question? Well, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you pick a number. You want to say 1%, say 1%. You want to say 90%, say 90%. It really doesn't matter because what we are talking about is whatever you think we have. You know, whatever you think we have. If you think I have only 2% free will, that 2% is what we are talking about. Okay. So that the percentage which I don't have, which is predetermined, that is predetermined. There is nothing to understand there. You know, it is predetermined. So whatever it is, it is. But to the extent that it is free, that is what we have to play with, to work with. That is what we are talking about. We have to acknowledge some free will in karma, in the whole thinking of karma that is based on the law of karma. There is some free will. You cannot say there is only everything is predetermined. If everything is predetermined, suppose you say everything is predetermined, it has certain problems, that particular assumption. One problem is this: everything is predetermined. Then the question is, who determines it? Who determines it? So we are all not born exactly equal. So we are all born under different setups, different circumstances, and all. So if everything is predetermined, who determined it? Who determined it? You can't simply say God. God determines everything. That's too arbitrary. So that means I determine predetermined by what? By my previous karma. Suppose I say everything is predetermined by the previous karma. Then the previous karma also, how did that come about? Was that predetermined or there was free will? Then I have to say that also was predetermined. Then at some point I have to acknowledge free will. Correct? A free will, I have to acknowledge at some point some choice which determines the later on what becomes predetermined. Okay. What is predetermined when we say destiny? The basis of our destiny is karma. The basis of our destiny is karma. So that karma, which is the basis of my destiny, that karma, is it predetermined or is it free will? What is that karma? You can't keep saying predetermined all the time. At some point, if I don't want to accept in this life, then previous life it was predetermined. Okay, fine. At some point, we have to acknowledge that there is some free will. And the degree of it doesn't really matter because what we are talking about is to the extent that free will is there. That free will is the one which prompts me, gives me the freedom to act. And then once I act, even though I have an expectation of some result, but then I can't act based on a thinking that I am the sole author of the result. I'm not the soul. That is the hetu, cause. If I am the fully the cause of the, I get a qualification certificate. We like to do this. So our walls are full of all our big accomplishments, all big certificates that we got, all the diplomas, etc. Then the more you get, the smaller the diploma, the bigger is the frame, generally. You see, this diploma, this framing is very interesting. They always, never the frame is the size of the diploma. You wonder why. However big the diploma is, the frame has to be still bigger than the diploma. Because, but then in getting the diploma, it's not my own personal accomplishment. There are so many things that have gone into that. I'm never the sole author of course, I may have worked for it, but then somebody paid for it, somebody supported me. All kinds of things are there. So I'm never the sole author of anything. But when I say I'm the karma phala hetu, I'm the cause, I'm the sole cause of the result of an action, then I'm going to be very, very disappointed too. Because for one thing, the results are not always going to be what I expect. There's always many factors that go into the result of an action. Not only that, the thing to understand is what are those factors? Those factors are, so again, part of the order, the divine order. Since they are part of the divine order, they are not arbitrary. They're not arbitrary, they are uniform. Laws are always uniform. All laws are uniform. So law of gravity is uniform. So it applies to everybody the same. There is no difference who falls. If somebody, whether a saint falls from the roof or a sinner falls from the roof, both are going to come down at exactly the same speed. It's not that the sinner is going to come down faster and the saint is going to float up in the sky. It's not like that. The law will apply equally to everybody. The laws of karma are uniform. Since they are uniform, if I have this understanding and I'm not the hetu, I'm not the author of the result of an action, that means when the result comes to me, it is exactly in keeping with the action and all the factors that are involved in it. So, really speaking, what am I complaining about? What am I complaining about? I usually complain because I feel cheated. I feel shortchanged. I feel shortchanged by nature. I feel shortchanged by the laws. I feel shortchanged by God. But then nobody is shortchanged because it is laws are uniform. Like just because I get caught, speeding, I get a speeding ticket, and the next fellow also was speeding. We always feel that. So he was also speeding. Then why I only get caught every time? We always get this feel. No, it's not like that. People get caught when they get caught. That fellow also will get caught one day. But the law itself is uniform. It's not picking on one person. So especially laws of nature, Bhagavan's laws are like that. Nobody is ever shortchanged. If that understanding is clear to me, then I don't get upset over what comes to me. So he says, when I do an action, you exercise your choice. That is one thing. But then later on also he says, exercise choice on certain basis, not purely by likes and dislikes. Animals exercise choice based on likes and dislikes, okay, and based on what they are programmed to like and dislike. Hey, there also. So animals to some extent are pre-programmed to like and dislike certain things, or they may also perhaps pick up certain habits and so on. So they do that. And we also do that. But then we have one more factor, and we have the factor of right and wrong. So which also accounts for our actions. It's not purely likes and dislikes. It's also right and wrong, which is what gives us punyam and papam. Animals don't get punya papam because for them there is no right and wrong action. There is only action. So they never commit any wrong actions. They don't do anything wrong. They do what they are meant to do. So they will not accrue any papam. So neither will they accrue any punya. But that is something which is given to human beings. So when you are performing an action, you keep in mind that, so you have a choice in doing the action up to that point. It's like, example is given, it's like releasing a arrow from a bow. Up to the point that you let it go, you have a choice. You can let the arrow go, you need not let it go, you can shoot in any direction you want. But once you release it from your hands, then where the arrow goes, you have no choice. It will follow the trajectory of the whatever the law dictates. Once you let it go, then there's nothing else you can do except perhaps you can shoot another arrow maybe to maybe shift its direction, but you cannot stop it, ask it to just stop. So thus he says, be cognizant of this. Ma karma pala hetu bhuvi. Do not become somebody who thinks that you are the cause of the result of an action. At the same time, he says, Ma te sangha astu akarmani. He says, neither the opposite. So do not also think that you need not do any action. Akarmani means akarane. Akarane pritihi mabhut. In not doing anything also. So just because the results don't come the way you want it to come, then you give up on doing actions. That is also not correct. You have to do actions. You have to make choices, and you have to make choices based on the proper thing, what is right and what is wrong. Keeping that in mind. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So yogastha kuru karmani, do your actions. In what manner? Being yogastha. Yogastha means someone who is well established, when well trenched in this attitude of yoga, karma yoga. Karma yoga is not an action. It's not a particular type of action is called karma yoga. Action is just an action. Generally, people say they use the word karma yoga for certain kinds of actions. So if you do, if you go to ashrams, and then they will always say, you do karma yoga. Karma yoga, this is just 1 hour karma yoga you do. So you say, what is that 1 hour karma yoga? So some office work or kitchen work or some work or cleaning. So that is work. That is not karma yoga. Karma yoga, free work is not karma yoga. So generally it is taken as, so without remuneration, you do some work, that is just free labor. It is not karma yoga. Karma yoga is a certain attitude, an attitude towards actions. I can do work in an ashram with the attitude of karma yoga. But just because I am doing work in the ashram, the location doesn't make it karma yoga. It is there also I can do the action by resenting it and by having all kinds of motivations and so on. So generally there the motivation is to get the work done. So we use all these words, but it's all a misrepresentation. So he says yogastha means with this particular attitude of understanding what exactly is karma, the aspect of choice and so on. Knowing this, you do the action. Sangam tyaktva, giving up, giving up. Sangaha, sangaha is attachment. This is, so generally this is how it's translated. So do not be attached to the result. No, you have no attachment. Don't expect any. Without expectations, you do actions. Now that is not realistic. Realistically speaking, how can one do actions without any expectations? One expects results. If you don't expect a result, how will you act? In fact, what kind of action are you going to do in without any expectation? There's always an expectation. At the very least, you expect the result. You don't do an action thinking that even the result is not going to come. So nobody does that. It says prayojanam anudishya mandopina pravartati. Without having a goal in mind, even a dull person, even an unintelligent person is not going to do something. So they are going to have some end in view when they do some actions. So it is not realistic to say that do actions without having any attachment. But here it's the driving force, the attitude towards the action that I do, the way I understand it, and the way I understand the result, and also the attitude towards the result. What is my attitude towards the action? What is my attitude towards the result of an action? So when the result of an action comes to me, usually what happens when I do an action? So either the result is what I expect, or the result may be more than I expect. The result may be less than I expect, or the result may be opposite of what I expect. So these are the only possibilities. Okay. So in this he says, Siddhya Siddhyo Samo Bhutva. For so the Siddhi is success, Asiddhi is failure. So I perform an action. I expect an action never fails in the sense an action always gives a result. The result, what is it that makes it a success and what is it that makes it a failure? It is my expectation, right? So if the result is in keeping with my expectation, I feel that the action was successful. If it is not in keeping with my expectation, I think it was a failure. So he says, for the success and failure, says samo bhutva. So having an attitude of samatva. Samam means equal. Okay. Now here, this is obviously not literal. It cannot be literal. So how, is it saying that success is say equal to failure and failure is equal to success? And for both success and failure, you should just smile or weep. Equal means what? So normally, if success makes you happy, then failure should also make you happy. If failure makes you sad, then success should make you so same reaction you should. No, it's not like that. No. Here's samatva. How can it be samatva? How can I have an attitude where I look upon two results which are opposite as the same because they're opposite? Here, the same when we say samatva, here is not feeling that it may not be in keeping with my expectation, but it was not inconsistent with the action. It is not inconsistent with what the action is meant to give. That's the idea. What the action is meant to give me is what comes to me. Okay, that is Bhagavan's law. It is not inconsistent with Bhagavan's law, the phalam. And my attitude is, if my attitude is one that this result has come to me from the hands of the Lord, in keeping with the laws of the Lord, then my response to the action is going to be the same. irrespective of what, I'm sorry, to the result is going to be the same, irrespective of what the result was. That is what is called as prasada buddhi. It's called prasada buddhi. Is my attitude similar to my attitude towards prasadam? When I go to the temple, when I go to the temple, I take offerings. I take offerings to the Lord. So it may be fruits, it may be sweets, whatever it may be. I make the offerings. That is called as naivedya. We make offerings to the Lord, and then I also get prasadam in return. So when I get prasadam, so I always stretch my hands, and so many times you don't know what's coming. So something comes, something comes. So when the prasadam comes to me and I accept it with a certain attitude. Sometimes it may be a fruit, sometimes it may be a flower, sometimes it may be laddu, sometimes it may be a leaf, sometimes whatever it may be, it may be. So whatever comes to me, my attitude towards it is the same. It doesn't change. I don't say, I came and gave Bhagwan a laddu. At least I should have gotten a laddu back. So here I got only a leaf back. I don't say, I don't feel deprived. So if I offer a flower and I get a laddu, then I think, oh, I'm special bhakta. I got laddu today. If I give laddu and then I get a leaf, I don't feel deprived. No, whatever I get in my hand, that is called samatvam. Samatvam buddhi, that whatever comes is a blessing, because it came from the Lord. It is touched by the Lord. Naivedyam becomes a prasada. So whatever comes to me as a prasadam. I have a certain attitude towards me. That same logic applies to the actions that I do also. Because when I perform an action, it is an action which is, especially when it is an action. This is what is called, when I recognize dharma, right and wrong. If I understand the Lord is not separate from dharma, and so on, then every action of mine becomes connected to the divine, and therefore any result that comes to me also is viewed as something that has been touched by divinity, by the Lord. And so my attitude towards that is one of prasada buddhi. It's the only way I can have samatvam, a same attitude of sameness towards success and failure. It's not that success and failure are the same. Success is success, failure is failure. So if I fail, then I have to again try. I cannot say, well, failure is the same as the success, so I need not try again. No, it's not that. It's a failure. Again, I have to try and do it. So that all is fine. I don't have a difficulty differentiating between the two, but it is in terms of how I respond to what comes to me. So says Siddhya Siddhyoho Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. So this particular attitude of Samatvam is what is called as Karma Yoga. Here is talking about Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is in the attitude towards the action, attitude towards the result of an action. It is not a definition of a particular kind of a action or an environment in which an action is done. Dureణ ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाफलहेतवः. दूरेण हि अवरं कर्म बुद्धि योगात् धनंजय. So buddhi yoga here is karma yoga, which is the context that is being talked about. So he says, just doing an action without this particular attitude, so is avaram. Avaram means inferior. So is inferior without the proper understanding. Then you are really caught up in the actions completely. Buddhau sharanam anvicha. So he says, with the attitude of Karma Yoga. So you have to do actions with this attitude of Karma Yoga. Then the action becomes meaningful. That is what helps you grow, really speaking. I develop a certain attitude towards the action. What is the point of having this attitude? So that I'm able to grow as a person. So when I perform actions, the actions are meant to mature, make me a mature person. So otherwise, I'm totally driven by actions, likes and dislikes that are totally at the mercy. I'm at the mercy of what I do here. I'm not at the mercy of what I do. I'm able to deal with and accept whatever comes to me. Not only that, it helps me also grow as a person. He says the one who doesn't have that attitude, he said, Phalahetavaha is Kripanaha. Phalahetavaha are people who who think that they are the absolute, so authors of the results of action. So Phalahetu, he is the cause. I am the one who's making things happen. If you have this kind of an attitude, then you're going to be very disappointed because you are not the one. People, it's all control. People think that they make things happen, but they don't. It's only people who recognize all the other factors that go into whatever comes to them are the people who become sensitive to the world, not people who think that they are the ones who are controlling everything. So he says people who are motivated the purely by the results of actions and think that they are the ones who are the authors, complete authors thereof, are the ones who are kripanaha, are the unfortunate one. He says phaladrishna prayuktaha santaha. He says they are totally Krishna. They are totally caught up. Their whole longing is only for the results, results, results. So they are going to have a lot of whatever disappointments, etc. They're going to be subject to those things.
And then how to control the power, how to remind yourself, or how to not feel that way for the result of the
No. See, again, here the result.
always you want.
No, wanting is okay. See, there are two things.
Expectations.
There are two things. One is the motivation for the action. The other one is attitude towards the result. There are two factors here. In motivation towards the result, there is always some motive. The question is, what is the motive? Is it purely my own subjective likes and dislikes, which keep changing, which are unpredictable, and which should not really be the basis of my actions? But it is the predominantly what has to be done and not done. Dharma. So I can fulfill my likes and dislikes within within the scope of dharma. Keeping in mind dharma, I fulfill likes and dislikes. If I do that, then dharma, so the raga dveshas get neutralized. That's the idea. So if I am acting purely based on likes and dislikes, then they have a hold over me. They have a hold over me. If I act based on my likes and dislikes, but in keeping with also dharma, then the likes and dislikes do not have that same hold over me as they otherwise do. That is what is called as neutralizing the likes and dislikes, their hold over me. I am more in control of the situation. That is the attitude towards the action. And then there is the attitude towards the result. And that requires a certain understanding of what is the order, what is Bhagavan, how the divine laws operate. I may not recognize all of them, but I don't feel cheated by any of them. So it's all, they are uniform, they apply to everybody, and so also to me. So when the results come to me which are not in keeping with my expectations, I still am able to have that attitude of samatvam, because I don't take it, I don't personalize it. I don't personalize it. I don't think that I'm the one who's always being treated unfairly. It is what it is. That helps me grow. It helps me grow towards some end. The ultimate end for a person in life, which is freedom and so on, that requires a certain maturity, and it helps me gain that maturity. Otherwise, if I don't have the maturity, then I cannot pursue even a spiritual growth. See, kripanaha, the word kripanaha, the unfortunate, in another Upanishad, he says, Yajnavalkya says to Gargi, to his wife, Yova etad aksharam Gargi aviditva asmat lokat praiti sakripanaha. Who's a kripanaha? He says, a kripanaha, an unfortunate person, is one who, so having lived in this world, so departs from this world, not having recognized, so aksharam, so that which is the basis of everything, that which is your very source, that which sustains you, the one who leaves this world without so utilizing the opportunity that he had in to get to know this, and that person is unfortunate, because again you don't know when you're going to be again born with a capacity to be able to know this. Kripana also means miser. Miser basically a person who doesn't use what he has. So here, as a human being, I have a certain capacity, certain buddhi and so on, that is given to me, by which I am able to, I have the potential to know. But then if I'm not able to exercise that and use it and accomplish it, then it becomes a waste, really speaking, of a life. Buddhi yukto jahatiha
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह
ubhe sukrita dushkrite
सुकृतदुष्कृते
tasmad yogaya yujyasva
तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व
yoga karmasu kaushalam.
योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्
Buddhi yuktaha jahati iha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmat yogaya yujyasva yogaha karmasu kaushalam. So buddhi yuktaha is so being connected. Yuktaha is being yoked, being connected to this karma yoga attitude, to the attitude of karma yoga. He says he jahati, he gives up. He gives up. He transcends. He gets over. What does he get over? He says, Sukrita Dushkrite. Ube is both of them. Both. So Punyam and Papam. He gets over both Punyam and the results of both kinds of actions, Punyam and Papam. Tasmat. He matures, in other words. So the person who, person maturity is in terms of thinking, attitude, and the capacity to deal with things. So punya papam is when I just live. Then based on right and wrong, I get punyam and papam, and then I can live being a victim of that, or I can get over it. I can get past it. So the attitude of karma yoga helps me get over, because punya papam also is instrumental in giving me what comes to me. Even when I do actions, one of the factors that influences what happens to me is also my own past actions. They also become determinants. My punyam and papam also facilitate certain things for me, they impede certain things for me. So all those things, I've become subject to all of that. But an attitude of karma yoga which helps me so deal with my actions and with my results, therefore also helps me get past the effect of punyam and papam. Therefore, yogaya yujyasva. So be prepared. Prepare yourself with this attitude of karma yoga. It says yogaha karmasu kaushalam. With respect to karma, this yoga is kaushalam. Kaushalam is discretion. So this is having discretion with reference to actions. So you can do actions any way you want to do them, but so the person who is discreet, who has the discretion, who has the skill, who's doing it the right way, in a way that really helps him, is with the attitude of karma yoga. So he says you also develop this particular attitude in doing your act. His whole problem was getting caught up in terms of what his karma is going to do in terms of the war, the results of the war. So in a way, he's saying, it's not you, it's not all about you, and what you're doing or what you're not. There are so many other factors. You cannot be purely self-centered in thinking. कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयन् नामयम् कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्ति अनामयम्. Karmajam buddhi yukta. So the one who is connected to, the one who has this particular attitude of karma yoga. Karmajam is born of karma. He says the phalam, results, tyaktva, giving up the results in this manner. So giving up the results, not that not expecting the results now, keep in mind. So having this particular giving up the results with this attitude, okay, of samatvam when they come to me. He says Manishinaha. Manishinaha are the wise people, people of wisdom. Janma bandha vinir muktaha. They become mukta, they become free from the bondage of janma. Okay, janma is connected to karma. So the karma bandham, janma bandha is karma bandha. So my actions prompt me to, when I just do actions for the sake of doing actions, then those have results. That results accrue to me in time, which become the cause of more janmas. And then those janmas again become the cause for me to perform more actions. So that's how the birth becomes a bondage. So the birth becomes a bondage through the actions that are performed. So thus, by developing a attitude of karma yoga towards the actions, that helps me grow as a person, eventually leading to freedom from bondage. Okay, eventually. Not that the action, karma yoga itself doesn't free me. It only frees me from the result, but not from the janma bondage. But then, so that comes later on also. It prepares me to then recognize what is the truth about myself and so on. It prepares my mind. Having done that, he says, ultimately what happens? So such a person, padam gachanti, anamayam. Anamayam is the one without any, free from afflictions. An end which is free from afflictions. So means free from bondage, punya, papam, afflictions. It's all go together. यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम् श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च Okay. Yada te moha kalilam buddhihi. See, buddhi is the mind, the intellect. Okay. The buddhihi, which is moha kalilam, which is clouded by moha, by ignorance. So a thinking which is clouded by the mist of ignorance, aviveka, in other words, lack of discrimination. He says, yada, when such a buddhi is, when you transcend that, when you go beyond that. So when you go beyond that kind of a intellect which is clouded by lack of discrimination, he says, tada gantasi nirvedam. Then you gain nirvedam. Nirvedam is dispassion. Okay. So Viveka leads to Vairagya, correct? So, Viveka Vairagya, Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutvam. These are the sadhana chatushtayam, the fourfold means of gaining self-knowledge. So first is Viveka, is discrimination. What kind of a discrimination? Viveka is always with reference to Nityam and Anityam. Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. All these words are well defined, in the scripture. So when I say Viveka, you should mean it is Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. So that means Nityam is what is permanent, Anityam is what is impermanent. So a discrimination between what is permanent and what is impermanent. That is the context in the spiritual quest. The context of discrimination here is the what is permanent and what is impermanent. So this he says. So when you go beyond with this, the mind which is freed, the mind which is clouded by lack of discrimination, when you go past that, that means when you gain a discriminating mind, then what happens? You get nirveda. You get a dispassion towards what kind of things? He says shrotavyasya shrutasya, that which is heard, that which is heard, that which is to be heard. In fact, what he's talking about here is Shruti also talks about. So, the scriptures talk about karma and jnana. The major part of this Vedas talk about various karmas in order to accomplish various ends in life. So the various ends, because varieties of ends are there, varieties of people are there, varieties of goals are there. So it gives us varieties of ways of accomplishing various means, he says. But these are for limited ends. These ends are, whatever the ends may be, punyam, including heaven, including going to heaven for us, is a limited end. It's not permanent. It is impermanent because it is time bound. Even going to heaven is a result of actions. Since the actions I perform are limited by nature, they are not limitless actions. The results are going to be limited. Actions are going to give me limited results. Limitless action is not possible. So I cannot get limitless result from a limited action. Action being limited, results being limited, everything is limited, even though it is prescribed by the scripture. Okay, so if it is action based, scriptures talk about karma. Then why do scriptures talk about karma? Because scriptures talk about karma. If it is performed as karma yoga, then it helps me develop a mind that then prepares me for something else also that the scripture talks about. That has to do with me recognizing myself, which requires a mind which is a mature mind. Unfortunately, it has to be a mind which is capable of recognizing itself, which requires a certain degree of capability in terms of maturity. Therefore, the scripture talks about both permanent ends and impermanent ends. Both it does, even though the permanent is what we seek, but the impermanent is what we are used to. So, using that as a means through the proper attitude, we get to that point. So, he says, having a buddhi which is free, which is a discriminating mind, going past that buddhi which is non discriminating, then you develop a dispassion, nirvedam, for the things that are talked about, even in the scripture, very scripture itself, that have to do with karma and your doing things and not doing things. Okay, good. So maybe perhaps you can stop here. Wait, yeah, we'll see this next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.